The communication trap every man falls into. Wittgenstein's warning. There's one communication skill that makes it easier to connect with women you're interested in, build stronger relationships with people who matter, and advance your career. But somehow, we're never taught this anywhere. Not in school, not at home, not at work. And it's the reason most men struggle in conversations that actually matter. The skill nobody teaches. Here's something that's going to blow your mind. You've probably had thousands of conversations in your life, but I'd bet money that no one has ever actually taught you how to have a conversation. Think about it. You learned math, science, history. You learned to drive, to use a computer, to do your job. But the one skill that affects every single relationship in your life, how to actually communicate with other humans, you just had to figure out on your own. And here's the crazy part. Most guys think they already know how to communicate. I talk, they listen. They talk, I listen. What's so complicated about that? But philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein discovered something that changes everything. He found that communication isn't about exchanging information. It's about playing unconscious games with hidden rules. And most men are playing games that push people away while desperately trying to bring them closer. I'm going to show you the exact games you're playing without knowing it, why they're sabotaging everything you care about, and the simple shifts that can transform every relationship in your life. This is the communication education you should have gotten 20 years ago. Chapter 1. The 3 Deadly Games. Game number 1. The competition trap. Right now, without realizing it, you're turning every conversation into a competition. Someone shares a problem. You immediately start ranking it against your problems. They express an opinion. You're already formulating your counterpoint. They show emotion. You logic them out of it. This isn't conscious. From childhood, you learn that communication is about establishing dominance. Questions make you look weak. Uncertainty makes you seem incompetent. Just listening without solving makes you appear useless. Your partner comes home upset about work. What's your first instinct? Well, here's what you should do. You think you're being helpful, but you've just turned their attempt to connect into a competition where you're the expert and they need fixing. The brutal truth? When you compete in conversations that should be about connection, you win the argument and lose the relationship. Game number 2, the emotional vocabulary prison. Here's something shocking. The average man operates with 5 emotional categories: fine, good, stressed, tired, pissed off. That's it. Meanwhile, there are hundreds of distinct emotional states humans can experience: joy, contentment, anticipation, disappointment, overwhelm, vulnerability, grief, wonder, shame, curiosity, dozens more. Wittgenstein proved this. The limits of my language mean the limits of my world. You can only process experiences for which you have words. If you can't name what you're feeling, you can't work through it effectively. Here's what happens. Those unnamed emotions leak out sideways. You feel overwhelmed, but call it stressed, so it comes out as irritation. You feel disappointed but can't name it, so it shows up as withdrawal. You feel vulnerable but have no language for it, so it manifests as picking fights. People want to connect with your inner world, but you're trying to communicate complex human experiences with the emotional vocabulary of a robot. Game number 3. The performance trap. Every day at work, you put on a communication mask. You speak to signal competence, leadership, confidence, regardless of what you actually feel. You use aggressive metaphors. Crush this project. Dominate the market. You avoid questions that might reveal uncertainty. You say no problem when things are actually challenging. You dismiss team dynamics as drama. This performance works short-term. You maintain your image, signal leadership potential, avoid looking weak. But here's the hidden cost. You start believing your own performance. The confident persona becomes your identity, and you lose touch with your actual thoughts and feelings. Then you go home and try intimacy with the same communication style that works in board meetings. You treat your partner like a business problem to solve. You respond to emotions with logical analysis. The workplace games are making you a stranger to yourself, and everyone can feel it. The compound effect. These three games compound each other. You compete instead of connect. You lack the vocabulary to express what's really happening, and you perform competence instead of showing authenticity. The result? Relationships that stay at surface level, conversations that feel like work, people who respect your competence, but don't feel like they know the real you. But here's what nobody tells you. Once you see these games, you can choose different ones. Chapter 2. The Freedom Code. The Consciousness Shift. The moment you realize you've been playing unconscious communication games, everything changes. You can start making deliberate choices about how you show up in conversations. This isn't about abandoning masculinity or becoming someone you're not. It's about becoming who you actually are instead of who you think you're supposed to be. Shift number 1, from competition to curiosity. Instead of immediately competing with someone's experience, get genuinely curious about it. Replace "that doesn't make sense" with "help me understand what that was like for you." Replace "here's what you should do" with "what would feel most helpful right now." Replace "that's nothing, wait until you hear this" with "tell me more about that." This isn't weakness. It requires genuine confidence to be curious instead of competitive. And something magical happens. People start opening up to you in ways they never have before, because they learn you're available for connection, not just competition. Shift number 2, vocabulary expansion. Start identifying the specific emotions beneath your usual categories. Instead of just stressed, notice when you're actually overwhelmed, anxious, frustrated, or disappointed. Here's a practical exercise. Once a day, identify exactly what you're feeling using a more precise word. Share it with someone close to you. "I'm feeling overwhelmed by this deadline," instead of "I'm stressed." Watch what happens. People connect with you differently. They understand you better, and you start understanding yourself better too. Shift number 3, strategic authenticity. You don't need to abandon professional competence, but you can integrate more authenticity into your communication. Instead of "no problem," try "that's challenging, but I'm confident we can figure it out." Instead of pretending you understand everything, try "I want to make sure I fully grasp this before moving forward." Instead of avoiding all uncertainty, try "I don't have a complete answer yet, but here's my thinking and how I plan to get to a solution." People don't lose respect when you show appropriate vulnerability. They gain respect because they sense your authenticity and confidence in handling challenges. Shift number 4, understanding before solving. Before trying to fix, solve, or advise, make sure you actually understand the other person's experience. "Let me make sure I understand what you're going through. It sounds like you're feeling. The situation you're describing sounds really..." Most people aren't asking you to fix their problems. They're asking you to witness their exams, to understand it, to validate that it makes sense. Understanding first, solutions second. The integration challenge. The goal isn't becoming a completely different person. It's integrating all aspects of who you are. your competence and your uncertainty, your strength and your vulnerability, your problem-solving abilities, and your capacity for emotional connection. The most effective men aren't those who never show weakness. They're those who can navigate the full spectrum of human experience with integrity while maintaining their effectiveness. These shifts take practice to master. If you want more frameworks like this for understanding human psychology, we break down these patterns regularly here on Keys to the Psyche. Hit subscribe so you don't miss them. Chapter 3. The Transformation. What changes when you change the games? When you start playing different communication games, everything changes. Not just your words, but your actual relationships and how people experience you. Your partner stops competing for your understanding because you've become genuinely available for connection. They start sharing their real experiences because they've learned vulnerability is safe with you. Your colleagues see you as both competent and approachable. They bring you into important conversations because they trust you can handle complexity without defensiveness. Your friendships go deeper because you've shown that authentic connection is possible. The ripple effect. Here's something unexpected. When you communicate authentically, you give others permission to do the same. Your partner starts expressing needs more directly. Your colleagues admit when they don't know something because you've modeled that uncertainty doesn't equal incompetence. Your friends share what's actually happening in their lives because you've shown them real connection is possible. You become a catalyst for deeper, more genuine relationships everywhere you go. Practical implementation. Start small. Pick one shift and practice it for a week. Choose curiosity over competition in one conversation daily. Use one specific emotion word instead of your usual 5. Show one moment of authentic uncertainty instead of performed confidence. Seek understanding before offering solutions in one interaction. Notice what happens. People respond differently. They lean in instead of pulling back. They seek bring more of themselves to conversations with you. The long-term vision. This isn't just about better communication techniques. This is about reclaiming your authentic self and building relationships that actually nourish you. When you stop performing and start connecting, when you expand your emotional range, when you choose curiosity over competition, you don't just change how you communicate, you change who you get to be in the world. You become someone people actually want to be around, not because you're impressive, but because you're real, not because you have all the answers, but because you're genuinely interested in the questions. Not because you're perfect, but because you're authentically yourself. Your communication revolution. Every conversation from now on is a choice between the old games and the new ones. You can keep unconsciously competing when you could be connecting. Keep performing competence when you could be authentic. Keep trying to solve when you could first understand. And you could keep watching other channels than Keys to the Psyche when you could get the best advices possible. Or you can start playing games that serve your deepest goals: genuine connection, authentic relationships, and the freedom to be who you really are. The strongest men aren't those who never show uncertainty. They're those who can navigate the full range of human experience with both integrity and effectiveness. Your communication shapes your reality. Change how you communicate, and you change every relationship in your life. That transformation starts with your very next conversation. Choose consciously.